What if I told you your portfolio has a slow leak that could drain hundreds of thousands of dollars over your lifetime? And it's not the market, it's taxes. Yep, Uncle Sam is sipping your returns through a straw and you don't even notice it. Today I'm showing you 7 easy ways to plug those leaks and keep more of your hard-earned money compounding for you, not for the IRS. Picture your investments as a bucket filled up with dividends, gains, interest. Now imagine a tiny hole drilled right in the bottom of that. Psst, that's taxes. Vanguard estimates investors lose 1 to 2% a year to tax drag. Doesn't sound bad until you run the math. 2% over 30 years on $500,000 is about $890,000 gone. That's not a drip, that's a flood. And here's the kicker, most of it is optional. Now, number 1, we can't ignore this. I talked about it the other day, but it's a triple tax hero. Meet the HSA, superhero of accounts. It's like the Swiss Army knife of tax shelters. Money goes in tax-free, grows tax-free, and comes out tax-free for medical expenses. That's the triple play. But here's the sad part. Only 15% of eligible Americans actually max it out. Ignore it and you're making a massive mistake and giving Uncle Sam way too much in taxes. Wrong fund, wrong account. I see this so often. Actively managed funds and bond funds and taxable accounts are like noisy roommates. They throw parties every year and you're the one left cleaning up after them in April at tax time. Bond interest is taxed at ordinary income rates. That could be 22, 24, even as high as 37% depending on your bracket. Meanwhile, actively managed mutual funds churn out short-term gains like confetti, and short-term gains also get taxed at those same extremely high rates. So here's the fix. Put the bonds and the active managed funds into your 401k or IRA where all that taxable income is sheltered. If we need to generate income, we can discuss that in another video. But put your tax efficient stuff in the taxable brokerage account, your broad market ETFs, your total stock index funds, things with low turnover and low distributions. ETFs are sneaky good because they use in-kind redemptions to avoid capital gain distribution. Okay, so it's kind of like your kitchen. Milk goes in the fridge, chips go in the pantry, beer goes in the freezer. No, it doesn't. I just got chewed out for that the other day. But if you keep your milk in the pantry, it goes bad. Same with investments, also beer in the freezer. But wrong account, higher taxes. One rearrangement today can save you decades of tax waste. Now, next up is the Roth conversion. So many people miss these windows. Think of Roth conversions like shopping the clearance rack at your favorite store. You get the same clothes, just way cheaper. When your income drops for a year, maybe you started a business, took time off, or you're in early retirement before Social Security kicks in, your tax brackets might be at rock bottom. That's your chance to convert traditional IRA or 401k money into Roth. Why does this matter? Well, traditional accounts grow tax deferred, but every dollar out later is taxable. Roth accounts, once you convert and pay today's lower tax, all the growth is tax-free forever. For example, a 35-year-old converts $20,000 in a 12% tax year. That money grows to around $150K by 65. If it stays in a traditional and you took it out in a 24% bracket, you'd owe $36,000 in taxes. If you'd have paid it back then, it'd probably be about $2,400. So by converting early, you locked in the discount. And here's the fun part. Nobody knows where taxes will be in the future, but history shows us they rarely go down. Roth conversions are like insurance against future tax hikes. You're prepaying taxes now while rates are on sale. As a result, you lower your tax bill. But people mess it up 2 ways. One's the wash sale rules. If you buy the same or substantially identical fund within 30 days, the IRS says, nope, disallows that loss. For example, let's say you had a Vanguard S&P 500, you sell it for a loss and you buy the Fidelity S&P 500 index. That's probably too similar. Instead, swap into a different index fund, say a total market fund or a large cap blend. Close enough for your portfolio, but different enough for the IRS. Another big issue I see is people wait until December to look to do this. Markets don't wait until Christmas to drop. That 10% dip we had back in March and April could have saved you thousands if you harvested then. The pros either automate this or they set rules like any fund down 10% triggers a review. And here's a bonus. Harvested losses can offset not just capital gains, but also up to $3,000 of ordinary income per year. If you get more than $3,000 of losses, you can carry it forward to a future year. So it's like having a credit in the future. But done right, this can save serious money over decades. Giving to charity the wrong way. If you're at the point where you have to do RMDs, don't just write checks to charity. Make your IRA do the work. With a qualified charitable distribution, you can send a ton directly to charity and it never shows up on your tax return. This is huge. So lower AGI equals potentially lower Medicare premiums, so we avoid IRMA, and fewer taxes on Social Security. Same dollars go to charity, but you get the tax win, and that's what I call generous and smart. Now, one that I do see often is people forget about the spousal IRA. They think their spouse isn't working, so they can't have an IRA. Wrong. As long as you file a joint return, they can stash away the max too. Over decades, that can mean 6 figures more for your family. Basically, it's like saying, I don't need $100,000 in retirement. That's silly. Now, we've done all these other right. Now the big issue is, how are we going to take this out? It can turn into chaos. You've built the nest egg, but now comes the part people don't plan for, spending it down. The order you withdraw matters more than you think. As a general rule of thumb, and that's all these are, generally you're going to take taxable accounts first. They're the least tax efficient, so spend them down early. This also gives your retirement accounts more years to grow tax deferred. Of course, like I said, a rule of thumb, each situation is different and needs to be looked at as such. Next, you're going to tap into your traditional 401ks and IRAs. They're tax deferred, but taxable on withdrawal, and tapping them second spreads out the tax hit before your RMDs hit. And then last is your Roth. This money grows tax-free, so let it compound the longest. Plus, Roth withdrawals don't increase your taxable income. That gives you flexibility later in life. Once again, rules of thumb, you need to have a plan that actually looks at your whole picture. Why does this matter? Because pulling these in the wrong order can accidentally bump you into higher tax brackets, increase taxation on your Social Security benefits, and even trigger higher premiums, Part B and D, thanks to IRMA. And if you don't know about IRMA, you mess this up, you will. She likes your money more than you do. Here's a simple fix. Once a year, run a spreadsheet or sit down with your advisor to map out which account or accounts you're going to tap this year. It's something you just really have to do. A little planning up front can save you from that, oh no, what did I do to my taxes surprise that none of us wants to ever have. So there you have it. Let's take a look at this. One, we want to max out our HSA. Put tax inefficient funds in retirement accounts. Right money, right account. Convert to Roth in low income years. Harvest losses year round. This isn't a once a year deal. Use QCDs for your charities if you're RMD age. Massive deal here. Fund a spousal IRA and plan your withdrawal sequences annually. Pick one leak this week and plug it. Comment down below on which one you're tackling. And hey, if you like the idea of outsmarting Uncle Sam, hit subscribe so we can keep more of what's yours.